Shalom, Hebrews. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. Okay, Hebrews, I'm going to do this video for the Israelite Brotherhood about the book of Ezekiel, chapter 16. See, a lot of Hebrews read that and then don't really understand what's going on or what took place during that time. You know, when the prophet Ezekiel book was written, you know, Jerusalem in the northern kingdom was already busted up, and how everybody was chased into Judah inheritance, and how Judah was our last stands, and how that the Babylonians had came and snatched some of the peoples, you know, because we had broke covenant. They had killed King Josiah, the Egyptians. This is around about 595 BC. And, you know, they had killed King Josiah. We said we was going to do the Egyptian religion. We was sinning in the land. We was all messed up. We was messed up real bad. And they had come, the Babylonians had come and captured, you know, some of the people. In the book of Ezekiel was the first wave, you know, was the first wave of the Hebrews, you know, being taken to captivity to Babylon. And they would come back again in the book of Jeremiah, like, you know, about 16 years, you know, a few years later, they came back, you know. And it was like from the death of King Josiah to the captivity, the Babylonian captivity started, was around about 16 years. Okay, Hebrews, I want to show that it was the Amorites' covenant that was broken, that we were supposed to replace, that we didn't, that how we didn't make it. You know, that's the reason why we in captivity, our heritage blotted out, and we all messed up. And I want to show that the people that the prophet Ezekiel was speaking about in chapter 16 of Ezekiel were the Amorite culture and the Amorite covenant that were before the Israelites. You see, it was some prophets and some people that communicated with the Creator that wasn't Israelites, and how the Creator bless who he want and give a covenant to who he wants, especially if he see you doing bad. And if you read throughout Tanakh history, the Creator mostly comes save the people that's doing bad. That's doing bad. I'm talking about that's throwed out, washed up, and it don't look like there's no hope for them. Then the Creator come save them and resurrect them and get them a covenant, which is a culture, new thoughts, positive, new everything. You know, it's like when the people that, you know, is down on their faith and just all washed out, and it don't look like it's no hope and it's just about over with. Then the Creator come in and save you and give you a culture, and then that's what he did to the Amorites. You know, the Amorites, you know, the Canaanite kids, you know, Canaan kids, you know, the Amorite throw his son out. You know, you are what your father is. You know, especially in biblical history. You know, that you are what your father is, and how he throwed his son out. You know, they say his son come out Tazareth. You know, that he didn't have no pigmentation, and how he was throwed out. You know, because you know that if the Amorite is mixing with a Hittite, and then I show that the Hittite don't have no genealogy listed with Noah's sons, Ham, Shem, Japheth, and then I show how these names in the Bible pop up, like the Nephilims, the Hittites, and the Horites, and a few other tribes of peoples, you know, that pop up, you know, in biblical history, but there's no explanation of where they come from. It's because Cain, Cain, the one that killed his brother Abel, his descendants, they wasn't listed in no genealogy. They all had Tazareth, and you know, they lived underground, and they was banished from the from the creation and the blessings that the Creator would eventually, bestow on Adam's other children, and how Cain was a wicked, evil individual, and how, that they didn't have no pigmentation, and how the Hittites were his children, his offsprings. And then I show, man, I got a video of how they lived up in the caves in Turkey and underground and so forth. And they even tell you in some of the documentaries that if you watch them, how something chased them underground. Something chased them underground, and they didn't have no pigmentation. And then we know that Turkey is not too far from the promised land. And this was basically all the troubles back in antiquity come from them folks underground, living underground, hundreds of thousands of them without no pigmentation and so forth. Okay, the Amorites would mix up with them, and the Amorite had a child, and then this child was throwed out in his blood. The Amorite had a child with the Hittite, and the Hittite man was throwed out. The little child that the Hittite had was throwed out in his blood and left in the fields, and the Creator saved it. You know what I'm saying? Saved it and gave it life and made it live, and then gave it a civilization, and then it eventually turned wicked. It turned wicked, and then that was the civilization we Israelites were supposed to destroy with a new covenant. That's like if you give somebody something, they done did something wicked, and doing something wicked with it, you want to take that back from them so the wickedness can stop. And then that's what we Israelites were supposed to do. And it's kind of like what we supposed to do now. If we can start rejecting the wickedness that our enemies put forth. I'm talking about the evil, simple wickedness. It's the Tanakh history lay out evil, simple wickedness that you can avoid. And if you can avoid those evil, simple wickedness, then you can stay off and up under the control of your enemies. Well, in the book of Ezekiel 16, it tell you how that those Amorites turned wicked and lost their culture, and this is, Ezekiel, the prophet Ezekiel, was in captivity, and he know who was taking him, and he was telling them, he was telling them their history, because he knew that the Amorite culture from Canaan extended all the way to Babylon, and that's what our inheritance were, to destroy the culture from the Nile all the way to the Euphrates. All the way to the Euphrates. Let me see if I can type in the Babylon in the Canaanite culture. All right, the Canaanite culture went all the way to Babylon. And it was through the Amorite culture. The Babylonian Amorites, and them Amorites that, controlled, Mesopotamia, are the ones that we were supposed to have destroyed their culture. We were supposed to destroy their culture, and these are gonna be the peoples that had a culture and a civilization, but they turned wicked. The furious Amorite, the first king of the Babylonian Empire. They'll tell you. So it was the Amorites that had captured Ezekiel and the peoples that was taken to the Mesopotamian area, to them rivers, Chabar, and all those places, But, it was the Amorites, because the Amorites are the founders of Babylon. And they'll even tell you that the Amorites are founders of Babylon. And if you type in any search engine, they're going to tell you that the Amorites are the founders of Babylon. And then what make them Semitic is that they mix with a whole bunch of all the ethnic groups. They mix with all the ethnic groups, and they mix with the Hittites, and then that would make them lose their pigmentation, because the Hittites didn't have no pigmentations. Those were Cain descendants, and Cain descendants wouldn't have no pigmentation, because that was a mark put on them because of what he did. And they was liars, killers, and murderers. So you got to mark them and put a mark on them and identify them. And that's what Cain descendants are, the Hittites. But when they had captured Jerusalem and took in prophet Ezekiel, he was telling them their history. You know what I'm saying? He was telling them their history. That's why come they didn't do nothing. They ain't try to hurt him in no kind of way. The enemy basically stayed clear of him, even though he was among the people. The Creator sent him with the people, and to be a messenger meant to tell them what was going to happen and what was to be done. The Creator sent prophet Ezekiel with the people, and that's why come he was a messenger to them, and he told them a lot of things. That's like he said that we will be one and one people when he held up them 12 sticks. I'm going to see if I can get their history in. But I want to show that, the Canaanite culture that we were supposed to destroy is the culture that governs us now. And how that we got to do it all over again. We got to start from scratch trying to destroy this culture. And we start by understanding the past and what happened. And if you understand your past, then your future is laid out. If you understand your past, then your future is laid out, because you know which way you should go. But if you don't understand your past, then your future ain't laid out. And that's why come we're under the control of these peoples, the very same Amorites that had a covenant in the culture, and their culture turned wicked as it is today. The culture that we have today in Western civilization is an extension of the Amorite culture. Okay, now let's get into the book of Ezekiel, and then I want to show, first of all, let me show how, the Amorites, they had prophets and people that communicated with the Creator before they was cut off. And then you will see that in the likes of Melchizedek. Melchizedek was an Amorite priest, and he was high priest of Salem, which is Jerusalem. Everybody knows Salem is Jerusalem, and how that the Melchizedek culture and peoples were on the window when the prophet Abraham come in, and he knew what time it was when he seen the prophet Abraham show up on the scene, and that he knew that the prophet Abraham descendants were coming to establish a new culture in the Amorite holdings that he was priest of. He was the last of the good priests. It was maybe another Amorite priest, Balaam, who the Moabites tried to get to curse us when we come out of Egypt. He gonna be another non-Israelite prophet or spokesperson that communicated with the Creator. You see what I'm saying? Because Balaam, the Moabites, Balaam asked them to curse us when we come out of Egypt, and man, he couldn't do it. And he told Balaam, man, he can't do it. It ain't no happenings on that. And we know how that story go. Maybe I'll read some of that. But those were non-Israelite priests, and how those priests were in the Amorite holdings and so forth. But the Amorite culture mixed up with that Hittite culture, and that's gonna start to make them wicked right there, because all Cain descendants would be wicked and no good. And that's why come they wasn't listed in the genealogy after Noah's sons and so forth, and how they wasn't mentioned no more. And how did these names pop up, like the Zeboims and oh man, it's a whole bunch of names. But look, Melchizedek was was the king of Salem. Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High. You know, he was the priest of the Most High in Jerusalem. Those gonna be the people that the Creator saved long time ago and gave them a culture. But how he was associated with Sodom and Gomorrah. You know, Sodom and Gomorrah is gonna be that wicked nation that turned wicked. The Creator started sending waves of other nations, the nations from the east, uh, uh, like them Indian type folks. You know, they was Hamites and so forth, but they came from Mesopotamia and they started to rob those Sodomites and the people in Gomorrah, and how that the prophet Abraham nephew Lot and them was took up, and then how he had to go save them, and then he brung them back, and then how the king of Sodom and Gomorrah them, fled to the mountains and so forth, and then our prophet Abraham, took everything back, and then he departed ways with them, and how Lot went to Sodom, where them wicked folks was that surrounded the house where the angels was, and but anyway, Melchizedek was a high priest to a nation of peoples that had lost a covenant with the Creator. And Melchizedek was a non-Israelite priest, the same as Balaam. Okay. And Balaam. Look, all right. This is Numbers 22. And the children of Israel set forth and pitched in the plains of Moab on this side of the Jordan by Jericho. And Balak the son of Zippor saw all that Israel had done to the Amorites. And Moab was so afraid of the people because there were many. And Moab was distressed because of the children of Israel. And Moab said unto the elders of Midian, now shall this company lick up all that are round about us, as the oxen lick up the grass? We come out of Egypt and we was plenty deep. And we was coming in to take over the land. And them folks was distressed. And then how Moab, Balak, then went and got Balaam of Beero. And Beero goes all the way to the Euphrates. Man, I think I got something pulled up on that. Let me see. All right. And Moab said unto the elders of Midian, now shall all this company lick up all that are round about us, as the oxen lick up the grass of the field. And Balak the son of Zippor was king of the Moabites at the time, and he sent messengers therefore unto Balaam the son of Beor to Pithro, which is by the river of the land of the children of his people, to call him, saying, behold, there is a people come out from Egypt. Behold, they cover the face of the earth. They abide over against me. Come now, therefore, I pray thee, curse me this people, for they are too mighty for me. Peradventure I shall prevail, that we may smite them, and that I may drive them out of the land. For I want that he whom thou blessest is blessed, and he whom thou curses is cursed. And the elders of Moab and the elders of Midian departed with the rewards of divination in their hand, and they came unto Balaam and spake unto him the words of Balak, and he said unto them, lodge here this night, and I will bring you word again, as the Elohim shall speak unto me, and the princes of Moab abide with him. And Yah came unto Balaam and said, what man are these with thee? Now the Creator then came to him, and this is a non-Israelite. You see, this is a non-Israelite, and he had to be a prophet, and this gonna be them Amorites, the last of they priests, they high priests, and they covenant priests that communicate with the Creator. This was the last of them. This was the end of their empire. This was the end of the Amorite empire, and the covenant that they had that we Israelites were supposed to replace. And then that's why come you have in the book of Ezekiel. I'm gonna read that. All right. And Yah came unto Balaam and said, what men are these with thee? And Balaam said unto Yah, Behold, the son of Zippor, king of Moab, had sent unto me, saying, Behold, there is a people come out of Egypt, which covered the face of the earth. Now come, curse me them, peradventure I shall be able to overcome them and drive them out. And Yah said unto Balaam, Thou shalt not go with them. Thou shalt not curse the people, for they are blessed. And Balaam rose up in the morning and said unto the princes of Balak, Get ye into your land, for the Elohim refused to give me leave to go with you. See, hey, man, that's deep. You know, here it is, a dude wanted the king of Moab wanted to curse us and do us in. And then here the creator, man told him we was blessed. And that was finna be the beginning of the end of the Amorite culture. And we know that the Amorite culture, Sodom and Gomorrah, and how Melchizedek was mixed up with them, trying to probably get them to do right in their last days. And we know how that the angels with the creator went and destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. So we know that, they was wicked, and we know that the Moabites, the creator wouldn't honor them, and that they became wicked. And so all of them would be connected to the Amorites. And then I can show how the Amorites also took over the Moabites. I got their history too. I think I got that in one of the videos where I explained them Amorite Sephardim Jews history. Alright. Let's see. Let me see. Amorite take over the Moabites. Alright. This is Numbers 21:26. For Heshbon was the city of Sihon, the king of the Amorites, who had fought against the former king Moab, and taken all his land out of his hand, even unto Arnan. You see? So, wherefore they spake unto the proverb, saying, Come into Heshbon, let the city of Sihon be built and prepared. So Sihon, the Amorite took over all the land of the Moabites, and then that's what make the Amorites Semitic, is that they mix with a lot of ethnic tribes, and they tribes become one with the Amorites. And it was the Amorites that was mixed up in Sodom and Gomorrah also that we were supposed to destroy. You see, and alright, this is Genesis 18, just giving a little history on the Amorites before I get into Ezekiel 16, and then it'll become a whole lot more understandable to you Hebrews. And the Elohim appeared unto Abraham. And the Elohim appeared unto him in the plains of Amorite, and he sat in the tent in the heat of the day, and he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him, and when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door, and bowed himself toward the ground, and said, My Elohim, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from thy servant. Let a little water, I pray you, be fetched, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree, and I will fetch a morsel of bread, and comfort ye your hearts. After that ye shall pass on, for therefore are ye come to your servant. And they said, So do, as thou hast said. Now, this the heavenly host with the creator. We know that they ate bread, they was walking around, and that they looked at like humans. So, I don't know where they got these angelic beings with some feathers and bird feathers and wings and so forth. This is going to be one of the reasons why our enemies hate us, because if we was made in the creator's image and we didn't lose, our pigmentation because we was a killer and a murderer and so forth, then yeah, our enemies going to be mad at us. All right. And I will fetch a morsel of bread, and comfort ye your hearts. After that ye shall pass on, for therefore are ye come to your servant. And they said, Do so as thou hast said. And Abraham hastened into the tent unto Sarah, and said, Make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal kneaded, and make cakes upon the earth. And Abraham ran unto the herd, and fetched a calf tender and good, and gave it to a young man, and said, Haste to dress it. And he took butter and milk and the calf which he had dressed, and set it before them. And he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. And they said unto him, Where is Sarah thy wife? And he said, Behold, in the tent. And he said, I will certainly return unto thee according to the time of life. And lo, Sarah thy wife shall have a son. And Sarah heard it in the tent door, which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old and well stricken in age, and it ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I am waxen and old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord, being old also? And the Elohim said unto Abraham, Wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, Shall I of a surety bear a child which am old? Is anything too hard for the Elohim? And in the time appointed I will return unto thee according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. Then Sarah denied, saying, I laugh not, for she was afraid. And he said, Nay, but thou didst laugh. And the men rose up from thence and looked towards Sodom. And Abraham went with them to bring them on the way. And the Elohim said, Shall I hide from Abraham that which I do, seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him? And sure enough, all the nations of the earth has been basically blessed in us from our creations in the early days that spread to humanity. The refrigeration, man, the stoplights, a whole bunch of stuff that we created since we've been in captivity that then advanced what they call modern civilization. All right. So we know that come to pass. All right. For I know him that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Elohim to do justice and judgment, that the Elohim may bring upon Abraham that which he had spoken. See, the Amorites had broke the covenant that the Creator had gave them, and they wasn't doing justice and judgment no more, and how wickedness was all upon the land, as can be seen when them angels' house was surrounded by the men. And then they had to, it was some wicked stuff going on, because a lot of them had to try to offer some women up to them. So we know it was of a sexual nature. If they trying to get them some women and some men surrounding the house and so forth, and trying to get in on them gay folks. And then I show how that the Amorite culture is kind of like behind and promote the gay culture. And then I show how that they turned the tribe of Benjamin out from the Benjamites living close to them in Jerusalem and around about them parts, and how that they almost got turned out, and we had to go knock half of them off. And man, that was almost the end of the tribe of Benjamin, because they had got mixed up and started kicking it with them Amorites who turned them out. Like today, if you in the Amorite culture, and that's what they want to do, is to change your outer appearance in your senses. They want to change it, and then that's what they do to the women. They turn them into men, and then they turn the men into women. And that's part of their culture, is to change everything around that the Creator had set, because he gave them a covenant and then they broke it. So now it's like they on a revenge trip to destroy everything righteous. And then if the Creator created something and blessed it, they gonna come after it to change it. And that's what they do to these Hebrews in captivity. The so-called transatlantic slave trade descendants, they turn them out. They turn them into some gay folks. All right. And the Elohim said, because the city, and the Elohim said, because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah, this is Genesis 18:20. And the Elohim said, because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous. That's going to be very grievous to be anti-creation. And then that's for the men to be sleeping with men and the women to be sleeping with women. Can't produce no babies. So that's anti-creation. And that's, a statement that the Amorite culture really pushed down on people that they have under their control. All right. And I will go down and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it, which is come unto me. And if not, I will know. And the men turned their faces from thence and went forward toward Sodom. But Abraham stood yet before the Elohim. And then now the other angel took off. They gonna take care of their business, But Prophet Abraham sit to chat with the Creator. And see, and Abraham drew near and said, "Willest thou also destroy the righteous with the wicked? Pre-adventure there be 50 righteous within the city. Will thou also destroy and not spare the place for the 50 righteous that are therein? That be far from thee to do after this manner, to slay the righteous with the wicked, and that the righteous should be as the wicked. That be far from thee. Shall not the judge of the whole earth do right?" Then this prophet Abraham say, "Hey, Creator, is you gonna get the, because Abraham is rich and righteous, and he know his nephew Lot is kicking it over in Sodom and Gomorrah. So he asked him, "Is you gonna destroy everybody, the righteous with the wicked?" And he wanted to know this, and he couldn't believe that the Creator was finna go get the righteous with the wicked. Let's read this again, because it's something real serious. Peradventure there be 50 righteous within the city. Wilt thou also destroy and not spare the place for the 50 righteous that are therein? That be far from thee to do after this manner, to slay the righteous with the wicked, and that the righteous should be as the wicked. That be far from thee. Shall not the judge of all the earth do right?" And the Elohim said, "If I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the place for their sake." And Abraham answered and said, "Behold, now I take I have taken upon me to speak unto the Elohim, which am but I am but dust and ashes. Peradventure thou shalt lack 5 of the 50 righteous. Wilt thou destroy all the city for the lack of 5? And he said, "If I find there are 40 and 5, boy, the Creator can count." He created the numbers, and probably the whole educational system with all the education with measuring numbers and science and all that stuff. "And I will not destroy it." And he spake unto him yet again and said, "Peradventure there shall be 40 found there." And he said, "I will not destroy it for the 40's sake." And he said unto him, "Oh, let the Elohim be angry, and I pray, and I will speak, peradventure there shall 30 be found." And he said, "I would not do it if I find 30. And he said, "Behold, now I have taken upon me to speak unto the Elohim, peradventure there shall be 20 found there." And he said, "I would not destroy it for the 20's sake." And he said, "Oh, let not the Elohim be angry, and I will speak yet but this once, peradventure 10 shall be found there." And he said, "I would not destroy it for the 10's sake." And he said, and Elohim went his way as soon as he had left communing with Abraham, and Abraham returned to his place. Now we know that they went to Sodom and Gomorrah, and how them old folks, and then surrounded the door, and surrounded the house, and everything. So that was of a sexual nature, being that Lot offered his daughters to him, and they didn't want the daughters. Let me see. "And there came 2 angels to Sodom at even." So the Creator then took off and let the 2 angels went to handle the business. It was 3 of them at first, so he went on and let them do it. "And there came 2 angels to Sodom at even, and Lot in the gate of Sodom. And Lot seeing them rise up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground, and said, Behold, now my lords, turn in, I pray you, into your servant's house, and tarry all night, and wash your feet, and ye shall rise up early and go your ways. And they said, Nay, but we will abide in the street all night." They won't go in nobody's house. They want to see what's going on. That's going to draw the wicked folks out. And he pressed upon them greatly, and they turned in to him and entered into his house. And he made them a feast, and did bake unleavened bread, and they did eat. But before they lay down, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house round both old and young. So it was some old gay folks and some young ones. And we know that once they get you and turn you out, that your mind messed up. And that's what they want to do. That's how old wicked king can control the people. Rape the males and subdue them. Subdue their spirit, and then you can control them. Back then they didn't have the guns and the bombs. So they had to think of all kind of slick, evil ways to control the people. And that's one of the ways to control them is to turn the folks gay, especially the men and stuff. But before they lay down, this is Genesis 19:4. But before they lay down, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house round, both men, both old and young, and all the people from every quarters, man, and they come from everywhere. And they called unto Lot and said unto him, Where are the men which come in unto thee this night? Bring them out unto us, that we may know them. And Lot went out at the door unto them, and shut the door after him, and pardoned them, raped them, and said, I pray you, brethren, do not so wickedly. Behold, now I have two daughters which have not known men. Let me, I pray you, bring them out unto you, and do you to them as good as in your eyes. Only unto these men do nothing, for therefore come they under the shadow of my roof. They say, man, don't disrespect me, man. These folks come up under my roof. Man, spare them. And they tried to give them their daughters. Now, we know back then that, sex, man, wasn't gonna kill no women. It's like now, if you touch a woman and look at a woman in any kind of way, man, they could bring the laws down on you. But back then, man, a little sex, man, that wasn't gonna be the end of life, and she was gonna keep on going and keep on rolling and stuff, and it might defuse a whole lot of stuff. As Lot was trying to get this situation defused, but the folks wasn't having it. All right, and it's like now today, these evil, wicked, gay, they don't want no women. You can't even put a woman on them. They don't want no women. All right. Behold, now I have two daughters which have not known men. Let me, I pray you, bring them out unto you, and do to them as is good in your eyes. Only unto these men do nothing, for therefore come they under the shadow of my roof. And they said, Stand back. And they said again, This one fellow come in to sojourn, and he will needs to be a judge. Now we will deal worse with thee than with them. So they saying, Lot, we're going to rape the mess out of you worse than we're going to do them angels. Is what they were saying. And they pressed a sore upon the men, even Lot, and came near to break the door down. But the men put forth their hand and pulled Lot into the house, them angels, to them, and shut the door. And they smote the men that were at the door of the house with blindness, both men and both small and great, so that they worried themselves to find the door, hit them with a flashbang. And the men said unto Lot, Hast thou here any besides son-in-law and daughters? And thy daughters, and whatsoever thou hast in the city, bring them out of this place. For we will destroy this place, because the cry of them is waxing great before the face of the Elohim. And the Elohim had sent us to destroy it. That's going to be an Amorite culture. That's going to be an Amorite culture right there. And that's going to be the Amorite culture that we were supposed to have destroyed, and we didn't destroy. And then we're going to get into the book of Ezekiel, and then I'm going to show you how that the book of Ezekiel is that Amorite culture that we were supposed to destroy, and how that they had got a blessing, and how from the beginning the Creator saved them, and then how that they will have priests like Melchizedek, the priest and king of Salem, which is Jerusalem, and then the from the Jebusites, but how Jerusalem and Salem is the same, and how Melchizedek was the king over that, and we know that the Amorites are the founders of Jerusalem. The Amorites is the founders of Jerusalem. Let's go to Ezekiel 16 and let's look at this here. So, them folks had lost their covenant, and he gonna tell you that they lost their covenant. Alright. Alright, this is Ezekiel 16. And the word of Elohim came unto me, saying, Son of man, cause Jerusalem to know her abominations. Look, cause Jerusalem to know her abominations. And say, This said the Elohim Yah unto Jerusalem, Thy birth and thy nativity is of the land of Canaan. Thy father was an Amorite, and thy mother a Hittite. Now we know that the Amorite and the Hittite can't be brothers and sisters, because if so, that's straight out incest right there. That's incest. Because that's going to be his sister. But we know that the Hittites are not named with Cain's with Canaan's descendants, or with Ham's descendants, or with the prophet Noah's sons, Ham, Shem, and Japheth, and how Canaan, is not, how the Hittites is not named with them. Let's go look and see. Let's look and see. See? And now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and unto them were sons born after the flood. And as you read down, you're gonna see, that Ham's descendants, that they do not list the Hittites. They not listing the Hittites nowhere, but the Hittites pop up. And that's the same with Japheth and Shem's descendants. No Hittites mentioned, but yet they just pop up in history. That's because that's gonna be Cain descendants, and Cain descendants gonna be some killers. You know what I'm saying? The killers. But all right. So let's do this again. Ezekiel 16. And the word of Elohim came unto me, saying, now he in captivity. The Amorite people done took him. The Babylonians are Amorites. Straight out, the Babylonians are Amorites. And the Babylonian Chaldeans came in and kidnapped 1%. This the first wave. The prophet Ezekiel was part of that. He was sent with the Israelites to be a messenger, a sign unto them, and so forth, and to tell them what was going on. So he knew who the Amorites was, and he knew their whole history and they beginning, and he was telling them this. And the word of the Elohim came unto me, saying, Son of man, cause Jerusalem to know her abominations, and say, this saith the Elohim Yah unto Jerusalem, thy birth and thy nativity is of the land of Canaan, and thy father was an Amorite, and thy mother a Hittite. And as for thy nativity, in the day that thou was born, thy navel was not cut, neither was thou washed in water to supply thee. Thou was not salted at all, nor swallowed at all. So he was just born, and then they was probably horrified and just throwed him out. They didn't try to clean him up. They didn't try to cut his biblical, they left his umbilical cord uncut, and they, just did him bad. As soon as he was born, they throwed him out. This Jerusalem. You are with your father, Amorite, and that's the Amorites holding. And as for thy nativity, in the day that thou was born, thy navel was not cut, neither was thou washed in water to supply thee. Thou was not salted at all, nor swallowed at all. None I pitied thee to do any of these unto thee, to have compassion upon thee. But thou was cast out in the open field to the loathing of thy person in the day that thou was born. That's like, our father Jacob. It said that he was thrown out, and the Creator found him in the wilderness. Go to Deuteronomy 32:16. Let's see what this say. Deuteronomy. So we know that the Creator saved you if you're down and out and you're miserable and you toe up and it don't look like there's no hope for you. He will save you, and he done saved me like that plenty times where it was like no hope for me, and I was finna be washed up. You know what I'm saying? I was finna be in the captivity. You know what I'm saying? I was finna be in one of them places for a long time. The Creator had mercy on me, and I cried and said, please help me, and the Creator changed the whole situation around. So I know how he could save me. All right. If you go to Jerusalem, Deuteronomy 32:16. Let's see what it says. But Joshua waxen fat, and kick it, thou art waxen fat, thou art grown thick, and thou art covered with fatness. Then he forsook Yah, which made him, and lightly esteemed the rock of his salvation. This is showing that how, the folks would forsake the Creator. You know what I'm saying? Would forsake the Creator. And after they get fat and be doing good and got it going on. And then that's what the Amorites did. And then that's what we would eventually do when we got control of the land from the Amorites. How we would forget all about the Creator and think that us and our prosperity in that land, was all that mattered. And the Creator drove us out. Okay. None I pitied thee to do any of these unto thee, to have compassion upon thee. But thou was cast out in the open field to the loathing of thy person in the day that thou was born. Now this is Jerusalem. This is the Amorites throwing their folks out. You know what I'm saying? All right. Let's start again. Ezekiel 16. And the word of the Elohim came unto me, saying, Son of man, cause Jerusalem to know her abomination, and say, This saith the Elohim Yah unto Jerusalem, thy birth and thy nativity is of the land of Canaan. Thy father was an Amorite, and thy mother was a Hittite. So they had a child, and then they throw that child out. He wasn't washed, he wasn't took care of, and as soon as they had him, they throwed him out. All right. None I pity thee to do any of these things, to have compassion upon thee, but thou was cast out in the open field to the loathing of thy person in the day that thou was born. See, for as for thy nativity in the day that thou was born, thy neighbor was not cut, neither was there washed in the water to supply thee. Thou was not salted at all, nor swaddled at all. So the Creator saved them. Watch. And when I passed by thee and saw thee polluted in thine own blood, and I said unto thee, when thou was in thy blood, live. Yeah, I said unto thee, when thou was in thy blood, live. I have caused thee to multiply as the bud of the field, and thou hast increased and waxen great, and thou art come to excellent ornament. Thy breasts are fashioned, and thy hair is grown, whereas thou wast naked and bare. Now, when I passed by thee and looked upon thee, behold, then time was the time of love, and I spread my skirt and covered thee nakedness. Yeah, I swear unto thee and enter into a covenant with thee, said the Elohim Yah, and thou becomest mine. So, he's the father of all creation. He's the father of all creation, and he had mercy on Cain when he killed his brother Abel and allowed him to get away. You see, and not take him out right then, which would have snuffed out all the evil wickedness on this earth, but that the Creator is gracious and merciful, and that's how he was to them Amorites, the Canaanites, before they turned evil and wicked. Before they turned evil and wicked. All right. Then when I passed by thee and looked upon thee, and behold, then time was the time of love, and I spread my skirt over thee and covered thee nakedness. Yeah, I swear unto thee and entered into a covenant with thee. And in that covenant gonna mean civilization, gonna give you mathematics, gonna give you science, gonna give you all kind of technology and so forth. And 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 I swear unto thee and enter into a covenant with thee, said the Elohim Yah, and thou becomest mine. Then washed I thee with water. Yeah, I thoroughly washed away thy blood from thee and anointed thee with oil. I clothed thee also with broidered work and showed thee with badger skin. And I girded thee about with fine linen, and I covered thee with silk. I decked thee also with ornaments, and I put bracelets upon thee hands and a chain on thee neck. Civilization. He was giving them everything, and and I put a jewel upon thy forehead, an earring in thine ears, and a beautiful crown upon thine head. This was thou decked with gold and silver, and thy raiment was a fine linen, silk, and broidered work. That's gonna be the trade network that them Amorites set up, got it going on, got civilization on and popping. The Creator them blessed them, but they turned wicked, as you seen with the Sodom and Gomorrah, coach. Look. Thou didst eat fine flour and honey and oil, and thou wast exceedingly beautiful, and thou didst prosper into a kingdom. And thy renew went forth among the heathen, for thy beauty. That's gonna be them Cain descendants. For it was perfect through my comeliness which I put upon thee, saith Elohim. But thou didst trust in thine own beauty, and played the harlot, because of thy renown, and pouredst out thy fornication on everyone that passed by. Has it was, and that's the way that it is now with this culture, and how that they take this wicked culture to everybody and to every nation, and how that they use us Israelites in the rap industry to promote their wickedness. To promote their wickedness, they done took the Israelites' mind and got him promoting the wickedness, so we can get the same wrath from the Creator that is due them. Yeah, they slick. And it come to pass, let me see, all right. Let me see. In thy garments thou didst take and deckest thy high places in diverse colors, and played the harlot thereon. The like things shall not come, neither shall it be so. They was doing all kind of wickedness. Thou hast also taken thy fair jewels of my gold and of my silver, which I have given thee, and madest to themselves images of men, and didst commit whoredom with them, and tookest thy broidered garment and covered them, and thou hast set mine oil and mine incense before them. And this is what the wicked Amorite culture did, that had the covenant that we were supposed to destroy, because they had turned wicked, and the Creator outlined all their wickedness in Deuteronomy. I'm going to read some of it. The things that he told us not to do. Don't be robbing and stealing and killing and raping and murdering folks and doing all kind of wickedness, and men sleeping with men, women sleeping with women. These people was the chief of that, as they are now. And their whole thing is to keep us Israelites from coming into the covenant that they had lost. That's why come they portraying themselves as Israelites, and how they come and hurry up and got our heritage when we ran off, or position themselves in our heritage to when we made a mistake, as we did in the book of Jeremiah, that they will reap our whole heritage from being placed in our land during the Assyrian times. How they just sit and waited. They knew we was already wicked, because they had their people in the land keeping us wicked. But then how the most brilliant ones, the brain scientists of the Amorites, the Sepharvims, came and settled in our land, waiting on us to slip, and we slipped, and then they got our whole heritage and everything it is right now today, because of that, and how they try to keep us wicked, to keep the wrath up off them. All right. Let me see. And tookest thy broad garment and covered them, and thou hast, let me see, I'm on 19. My meat also which I gave thee, fine flour and oil and honey, wherefore I fed thee, thou hast given it before them for a sweet savor. And this saith Elohim, moreover thou hast taken thy sons and thy daughters, whom thou hast born unto me, and these hast thou sacrificed unto them to be devoured. Now we know that that's the Amorite and the Amorite Canaanite culture is them abortions. Is what they do to now today. You don't find no abortions happening nowhere around the world but in the Canaanite culture or the Western civilization that they influence. And it go back to the biblical days. The Creator telling you in the book of Ezekiel how them folks sacrifice their kids. And that's what they do with the abortions now. From the sins that run rampant in the land, that you don't do nothing but sacrifice your kids and so forth, because they don't want to raise no kids in righteousness. And how that they, this is a Canaanite culture, sacrificing kids, and how many Hebrew Israelites that they done put to death since we've been in captivity. Man, I'm talking about, you can't, there's no numbers, man. There's no numbers. It's, man, millions. But that's part of their culture. Moreover, thou hast taken thy sons and thy daughters, whom thou hast born unto me, and these hast thou sacrificed unto them to be devoured. Is this of the whoredoms of a small matter? No. Me and them folks was evil and wicked, and their culture is up on us today. Thou hast slain my children and delivered them to cause them to pass through the fire for them. That's what they do now with them abortions, man. They killing the kids. And that's part of the Canaanite Amorite culture. And they promote that as well as all the other wickedness. And all the abominations, thy whoredoms, thou hast not remembered the days of thy youth, when thou was naked and bare, and was polluted in thy blood. And it come to pass after all thy wickedness, woe, woe, woe unto thee, saith the Elohim Yah. Now this is Prophet Ezekiel telling them folks, they done kidnapped them, the Hebrews, and then take them to Babylon. He telling them folks about their beginning and how wicked they was. Thou hast built thy high places at every head of the way, and hast made thy beauty to be abhorred, and hast opened thy feet to every one that passed by, and multiplied thy whoredoms. Thou hast also committed fornication with the Egyptians, thy neighbors, great of flesh, and hast increased thy whoredoms to provoke me to anger. Now, sure enough, it is one of the reasons that the Egyptian culture is on us today is because the Amorites took Egypt over through the Greeks, and man, had control after the saith history in. And the saith history is when the Assyrians placed the Mishwish Egyptian tribes on the throne, and then they was uprooted around about 525 BC. Then the Greeks started coming in there. From the mercenaries, first they come studying and lodge, and then they came and took the whole Egypt over, and how it fell into the Amorites' hands. You know, I explained that, how the Amorites and the Edomites become one also too. All right, 127. Behold, therefore have I stretched out my hand over thee, and have diminished thee in ordinary food, and delivered thee unto the will of them that hate thee, the daughters of the Philistines, which are ashamed of thy lewd way. Thou hast played the harlot also with the Assyrians, because thou was unstable. Yeah, thou hast played the harlot with them, and yet couldst not be satisfied. Thou hast moreover multiplied thy fornication in the land of Canaan unto Chaldea. See, it was them. And yet thou was not satisfied therein. See, that's that Amorite Babylon right there. How weak is thee in heart, said the Elohim Yah, seeing that thou doest all these things, the work of an imperious, whorish woman, in that thou buildest thee an eminent place in the head of every way, and makest thee an high place in every street, and has not been as a harlot, in that thou hast scorned her, for as a wife that committed adultery, which take strangers instead of her husband. You know, that's what, once the Creator say, and then you draw away and go do everything else besides what the Creator told you to do with the covenant that He gave you. And that's what happened to us. We fell in the same predicament that these Amorites fell in. We did the very same sins also. That gives They give gifts to all whores, but those gives thy gifts to all thy lovers, and hires them, that they may come unto thee on every side for thy whoredom. And the contrary is in thee from other women and thy whoredoms, whereas none followeth thee to commit whoredoms, in that thou givest a reward. To reward is given unto thee. No reward is given unto thee. Therefore thou art the contrary. Wherefore, O harlot, hear the words of the Elohim. This said the Elohim Yah, because thy filthiness was poured out, and thy nakedness discovered through thy whoredoms with thy lovers, and with all thy idols of thy abominations. Now remember that this Canaanite Amorite culture, Jerusalem, go all the way back to after the flood with Adam's with Noah's sons, and how did Prophet Abraham and so forth. They go all the way back then, way past then, to after the flood, when they got on their feet and so forth, and how the date culture existed for a long time till we supposed to have came in there and destroyed it, but we didn't. All right. This said the Elohim, ho, because thy filthiness was poured out, and thy nakedness discovered through thy whoredoms with thy lovers, and with all thy idols of thy abomination, and by the blood of thy children, which thou didst give unto them. Behold, therefore will I gather all thy lovers whom thou hast taken pleasure in, and all them that hast loved and with all them that has hated, I will even gather them around about against thee, and will discover thy nakedness unto them, that they may see all thy nakedness. And that's like now today, that if the people can see the Jews for who they are, even though the Jews got all the riches and control the trade routes in the Western culture and got all the money and wealth, that, if people can see who they really are, that's going to change everything. And, and I will judge thee as a woman that break wedlock and shed blood, or judge, and I will give thee blood in fury and jealousy, and I will also give thee into their hand, and they shall throw down thee in eminent place, and shall break down thy high places. They shall strip thee also of thy clothes, and shall take their fair jewels, and leave thee naked and bare. That's what we gonna do when the time get right. We gonna have to do this, because our whole problems and our whole everything, our woes has been caused by those folks, and they have enriched themselves off our oppression. And I will give also thee into the hand, and they shall throw thee down eminent places, and shall break down thy high places, and they shall strip thee also of thy clothes, and shall take thy fair jewels, and leave thee naked. They shall also bring up a company against thee, and they shall stone thee with stones, and thrust thee through with their swords, and they shall burn thee in house with fire, and execute judgment upon thee in the sight of many women. And I will cause thee to cease from playing the harlot, and thou also shalt give no hire anymore. That's like now, if we could turn back to our Israelite heritage, and the Jews can't stop it, they're gonna have to get right back with the Creator. They're gonna have to get right back. They've been playing like they right with the Creator by having our heritage, fooling everybody, but they're gonna have to get right for real. Because thou hast not remembered the days of thy youth, but hast fitted me in all these things. Behold, therefore I also will recompense thee, weigh upon thee in head in the Elohim Yah, and thou shalt not commit this lordness above all thine abomination. Behold, everyone that uses proverbs shall use this proverb against thee, saying, as is the mother, so is her daughter. Thou art thy mother's daughter, thy loth her husband, and her children, and thou art the sister of thy sisters, which loth thy husband and her children. Your mother was a Hittite, and your father a Amorite. This is talking about Jerusalem. This is them Amorites. This was the seat of their power. This is where the education centers was. This is where they temples and everything was before, we were supposed to have destroyed it, and King David took it over from them, and them Jebusites was mad that King David took Zion over. All right. And then elder sister is Samaria. That's where those Sepharvians was set. And she and her daughters that dwell at thy left, and thy younger sister that dwelleth at that right hand is Sodom, and her daughters, and that's the Amorites. Yet hast thou not walked after thy ways, nor done after their abomination, but but as if they were a very light thing, thou wast corrupt more than they in all thy ways. As I live, said the Elohim, Sodom thy sister hath not done, she nor her daughters, as thou hast done, thou and thy daughters. And we know that this evil, wicked Amorite culture is terrible. It's terrible. This is Ezekiel 16:49. Behold, this is what's the iniquity of thy sister Sodom: pride, fullness of bread, and abundance of idleness in her daughters. Neither did she strengthen the hand of the poor and the needy. That's like now. Look at all these homeless peoples that's up under this Amorite controlled government and culture. And everybody know that the Amorite Jews control America's culture, because if you control the money and the resources, then you control the land and the country. And all these people is suffering and homeless because of the way that they got the system set up. All right. All right, I'm on 50. And they were haughty and committed abomination before me. Therefore I took them away as I saw good. Neither has Samaria committed half of thy sins, but thou hast multiplied then abominations more than they, and hast justified their sister in all the abominations which thou hast done. Thou also which hast judged thy sister bear thee an own shame for thy sin, that thou hast committed more abomination than they, and they are more righteous than thou. Yea, be thou confounded also, and bear thy shame, in that thou hast justified thy sister, when I shall bring again their captivity, the captivity of Sodom and her daughters, and the captivity of Samaria and her daughters. Then will I bring again the captivity in the midst of them, that they may bear their own shame. And show enough that if we come back to the promised land with the knowledge that we abandon our heritage to them Jews, and them Jews accept this, they gonna feel some shame. And so when thy sister Sodom and her daughters and shall return to their former state, Samaria and her daughters shall return to their former state, meaning everybody be righteous. And that if we gonna lead the earth in righteousness, and everybody gonna have to praise the Creator through us, and we gonna be the vehicle to bring them back, then all this gonna come to pass. Then thy sister Sodom was not mentioned by thy mouth in the day of thy pride, that before thy wickedness was discovered, as at the time of thy reapproach of the daughters of Syria, all that are round about her, and the daughters of the Philistines, which despise thee round about. Thou hast borne thy lewdness. Now he was also speaking of the time back then, with the peoples back then during them times. The prophet Ezekiel, because them people were still around. He was being taken to Babylon. He was in Mesopotamia, and he knew all the wickedness of them peoples and other nations, and how they was connected and so forth. And all them peoples gonna be connected to the Amorites. Look, for this, I'm on 59. For this saith the Elohim Yah, I will even deal with thee as thou hast done, which has despised the oath and breaking the covenant. See, they broke the covenant. They broke the covenant. The Amorites did. And that's why we come out of Egypt, to destroy them and replace that evil, wicked covenant. You remember Melchizedek and Balaam and all them was servants of the Most High, that he communicated with them. You see what I'm saying? And they was Amorites. And we know that Jerusalem is founded by the Amorites. See, that's one of the reasons why the Canaanites come back. That's one of the reasons why the Amorite Sephardims came back to the promised land, was to get Jerusalem back again and to get control of it. And then that's why when we was chased out the land during the Babylonian wars, that our heritage that we worship in Jerusalem, that was to replace them, they got control of it, and then presented themselves as the ones that was supposed to destroy evil. Man, that's wicked right there. And that's all this is talking about. Alright. Nevertheless, I will remember my covenant with thee in the days of thy youth, and I will establish unto thee an everlasting covenant that's going to be upon us. Then shalt thou remember thy ways, and be ashamed when thou shalt receive thy sister, and then elders and thy younger, and I will give them unto thee for daughters, but not by my covenant. And I will establish my covenant with thee, and thou shalt know that I am the Elohim, that thou mayest remember and be confounded. Never open thy mouth any more because of thy shame, and I will pacify toward thee for all that thou hast done, saith the Elohim. You know, so the Amorite culture, you know, the Amorites had a covenant. The Amorites had a covenant, and we Israelites were supposed to destroy that covenant because they had turned wicked. But how in the end, all these nations and peoples gonna have to come back to the Creator and be right with the Creator up under us Israelites when we coming back into our heritage. Okay, then let's see right here what we do. Oh yeah, some of the sins of the Amorites. We all know the sins of the Amorites, and how the Creator said, don't do this, and then don't do that. Don't be robbing and stealing and killing, and you know, not to be evil. All right, All right, shalom, Hebrews. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. I hope and pray that this Ezekiel 16 shed a little light on, what's going on, and how, the other peoples had a covenant before we did, and how we were supposed to destroy them because how they had turned wicked and so forth when they had got righteous, and how we in a position now to destroy them again by not doing their wickedness, and how we at the bottom, like the Canaanite was throwed out, the Amorite throwed his baby out, and how we waddling and filth and messed up like that, and how we need some saving from the Creator to rise us up again. All right, shalom, Hebrews. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood.